Ladies and gentlemen, it's a huge day here today, the Geekly. We need like a gong or like a trumpet.
I know. I want a gong just so we can listen to it like...
Yeah, and today we've been hitting that gong twice because we have 2 new patrons. Thank you so much.
Yeah, the first is Genderpunks and also Sam Headley. We are so happy to have 2 new patrons. I think it was more than we expected to get because we got 2 in 2 days, which was just kind of amazing.
We're up to 6 patrons now. It's really cool. Thank you so much and enjoy the show.
We love all of our patrons regardless of what tier you're at. It really means so much to us that you like what we do. We've been doing some polls while we've been on break.
It's fair to say we have a backlog of polls.
We do have a backlog of polls. I think I've actually lost track of some of the polls that we've done, but I have 4 of them.
We don't need to worry about like the PB&J poll.
Well, no, that was kind of just like a silly poll,
yeah.
or the whether Jules gets his birthday present early. And all of you suck, by the way. You all suck.
You all did the right thing, as far as I'm concerned.
So our first poll is which new show are you most looking forward to out of The Witcher, Watchmen, Harlequin, and Batwoman?
What one did you vote for?
I voted for Batwoman. I'm so excited for Batwoman. I love Ruby Rose. I think it's great that she's starring in the show. We're getting kind of our first queer character heading up a superhero show. It's just really exciting. I'm super stoked about it.
I voted for Batwoman too. Gotham City, they bring you drip-fed things. Very excited. She looks great in the role. All the trailers so far I've been pretty ambivalent about. Nothing's really kind of caught my eye yet, except it looks like probably the highest production value of any show so far. Love me some good-looking TV.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't, really?
Yeah. So I'm curious to see how that goes. But yeah, coming in at 36%, The Witcher.
I think it's pretty much down to Henry Cavill.
Yeah, I think it's got that Netflix money as well.
Yeah.
Which helps. I'm really curious to see how that goes. I own a Witcher game. Haven't really started playing it yet. It's The Witcher 3 Game of the Year edition. But I will definitely be watching it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely be watching it for the show as well. Yeah, I have Witcher 3 and I absolutely love it. I haven't finished it yet. Like Skyrim and Dragon Age, it's one of those games that you can just play and play and play. I get distracted with the side quests.
Yeah, oh god. I watched a great video on YouTube yesterday about 7 side quests so good we just forgot about the main storyline completely. Watchmen in second place. We're not completely convinced with the trailers, but we will be reviewing that for the show.
Yeah, and Batwoman came in third place, so we're kind of almost completely in the minority there looking for Batwoman.
Yeah. Next question. Who did time travel best?
This is actually a 2-parter question.
Yeah.
The first part is who did time travel best out of Back to the Future, Endgame, Bill and Ted, or Quantum Leap? And overwhelmingly, 39% said Back to the Future, which isn't too much of a surprise. I imagine Back to the Future was kind of a lot of people's first introduction to the idea of time travel in films.
Yeah, I mean, it's also the car, it's a trilogy, there's a lot of lore there. Great soundtrack. I voted for Back to the Future.
I couldn't make up my mind, so I think I voted for Quantum Leap. I may be the 13% that voted for Quantum Leap. So the second part of that is what is the best device for time traveling out of a car, a police box, hot tub, or phone booth? And again, car at 39% won.
Yeah, 36% the police box. That was my personal
That was my choice.
That's travelling not just in style, but in luxury.
Yeah, that's the highest tier of time travel devices is the police box.
It's like travelling through space and time in the Hilton. It's got a swimming pool. There are bedrooms. There are changes of clothes.
There are rooms
showers.
that people don't even know about.
Yeah.
It's just a massive.
There's all
massive
sorts
thing.
in there. Yeah. That was a 36%. The car was 39%. I think the people might have got that one wrong. That's my personal opinion.
Our final poll is you can only have one of these for the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover. Which do you choose? Choices were Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern, Hamill's Joker, and Sorkin's Harley Quinn, the Smallville cast, or Linda Carter's Wonder Woman.
Can we talk first about the fact that the Smallville cast came last in this? I was expecting that to be number 1 with a bullet. Everybody every year talks about, can we get Tom Welling? We get Tom Welling's Superman in the Arrowverse? We've got other things. They even had the Smallville theme tune playing when they went to the barn in the last crossover. Yeah. And they came last. They came dead last. So stop asking.
I'm surprised that Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern beat out the Smallville cast. That's what I'm surprised about. I expected Hamill's Joker and Harley Quinn to win.
That was my pick.
That was my pick.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I mean, Linda Carter's Wonder Woman is so iconic. It's not really that much of a surprise.
And I mean, the fact that she's in Supergirl anyway, as she was the president, found out she was an alien, she had to step down from that. But she's already so involved in the CW and the Arrowverse. it's not much of a stretch to think she could make that kind of appearance.
Yeah.
Turning around in a circle, changing to Wonder Woman.
The classic Wonder Woman spin.
Yeah, I like the idea though that I think it was Helen of Troy in an episode of Legends was dropped off at Themyscira, and the idea that she would be this continuity's Wonder Woman. I'm still kind of have hope that one day that will pay off and she will emerge. But yeah, I think it's probably a worthy winner. But for me, yeah, Hamill and Sorkin.
Yeah. I know he's a hugely problematic character, but I find the Joker so fascinating that and Hamill's Joker is just kind of top of the line. Really.
It is beautiful, and Sorkin's Harley Quinn, she's got that. I don't know how to describe her accent, but it's just so good.
So we've got some geek news going on, some kind of fairly major things.
A lot's been happening since we've been away.
I know, we went on break and all of these news stories came out, and we were like just making notes so we could talk about it when we came back.
Yeah, I mean, let's start with the obvious one. Krypton has been cancelled. Did we do this?
Yes.
I think we did this.
We have the power.
I mean, we could have stopped watching it maybe 3 weeks before we did, but we got to the point where we just, there was just nothing.
We were just saying the same thing over and over again every week, and there really wasn't any point and kind of zero engagement. So I have to say I'm not hugely surprised or disappointed that Krypton is gone. I guess my disappointment is I wanted the show to be better. I mean, that seems like a fairly obvious statement, but I mean, the concept of it is really cool. We go back and see Superman's grandfather as a young man doing stuff. Adam Strange is there. They're trying to save Krypton, but you can't really save Krypton and have Superman, so what do you kind of do? But they dropped the ball in too many places.
I mean, was it episode 1 where Adam Strange appeared with Superman's cape and said this thing is like dissolving, or it's like erasing from time?
And then they, like at the end of season 1, they had the
logo changed.
The logo emblem changed, and then in season 2 they just completely forgot about the cape.
Yeah. You know, would you watch a 10 episode season of them trying to stop this thing changing or like erasing from history? Then the emblem changes. Then would you watch another 10 episodes of them trying to change it back to the House of El emblem? It's a great story. And what's the fucking point of introducing these great elements and then just binning them almost immediately to focus on rebellions in
I personally think if the very last shot of your season finale is of something, that thing should feature prominently in the next season. Yeah. Otherwise, why are you showing it to us? On the same line, Lobo is no longer getting his series either.
And that was probably one of our high points for the season, wasn't it? He was a bit of a fresh
enjoyed Lobo and was really looking forward to a whole series of him. So that's kind of unfortunate, but I have to say not unexpected.
Do you think Segel will appear in the crossover? Hello. Everyone's like, who the fuck are you? And he's like, I don't even know. Yeah. And he just walks back through his little portal.
It would be interesting if they did like a Krypton crossover with the Arrowverse. We have like Superman meeting his grandfather. I would like that. Anyway, moving on. Brandon Routh is leaving Legends.
And the sad thing is, apparently he was pushed. This wasn't his choice. He posted a tweet saying, wasn't my decision. And that makes me sad, because he's been in since day one. I mean, he's been in Arrow for even longer.
Arrow, yeah. You know, he started on Arrow and then moved to Legends. I think it's always sad when a character leaves a show, but particularly when the actor decides it's time for them to move on, you can kind of be like, all right, I respect that. But when they're still willing to play the part and they're kind of pushed out or told that they have to leave, it's a sad day.
Yeah, and Nora Dark's going with him as well, which is extra sad. I quite like her.
I like the pair of them.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can see with like the way their storyline is going, there really is kind of no other option but for those two characters to make a departure.
Do you think they're going to die in like the crossover, or do you think they're in season 5 of Legends?
I think they're just gonna like run off together. She can't really be part of the Legends. He's absolutely in love with her. Yeah, I see the two of them just kind of going off, picking a time in history and having a little life together. That's how I see their story ending. I would be really, really upset if they get killed off.
I'd quite like them to get killed off.
Really?
Yeah. Just let them go out in a kind of ball of doing something heroic and saving a load of people's lives.
See, if they just run off together, I can, imagine little stories for them out there,
Yeah, but then they'll have an option to come back.
Exactly, they'll have an option to come back.
I don't want them to come back. He's too nice. He off balances the whole of the rest of the Legends. I think it might go in a kind of slightly not darker direction, but a slightly more adult direction potentially. I've always considered Ray Palmer to be comic relief.
Yeah, he is.
Sickly sweet. So I'd rather they just died off. And
I really hated Ray Palmer on Arrow, but I've gotten to really like him on Legends.
Yeah.
he is that kind of sickly sweet, goody two shoes kind of character, but I think it kind of works on Legends because you have Mick and you have Sarah, who are very kind of lawful evil characters. Then you have, kind of true good Ray Palmer sort of balances out the dynamic, but we don't always get what we want. Speaking of which, not getting what we want, Spider-Man is no longer in the MCU.
I'm kind of okay with it.
I'm sad.
I'm okay with it. I haven't really enjoyed Homecoming or Far From Home. Don't get me wrong, he was exceptional in Civil War, great in Infinity War, great in Endgame, and those three are the films that I consider to be like the MCU canon films, because other than the gratuitous Tony Stark stuff in the first one, a bit of Nick Fury in the second one, they felt so far removed. If they'd been in New York and he'd been going up against like Green Goblin, Doc Ock, I would have been a lot more engaged in them. But I'm really interested now to see Tom Holland go off into the Sony Spider-Verse, create maybe even a new trilogy, get involved with Venoms, like some buddy films, go up against all of his true villains I think Sony must hold the rights for. I assume that's why they've not been in the MCU, people like Green Goblin.
Yeah.
I want him to be in New York going up against his proper villains. Give me a bit of Venom and Tom action. I'm involved. People are like, oh, we wanted more MCU Spider-Man, but I've never really been that into his films. The crossover stuff's been great, but let's go and create new memories. Let's go and do another amazing thing over at Sony now. I think it's the perfect time.
No, just no.
Yeah.
Plus, I kind of have this thing, as a creator, it really pisses me off that Sony is keeping Marvel's creation away from them.
Yeah.
I think that they should just give Spider-Man back. I mean, Marvel shouldn't have ever sold the rights to one of their characters in the first place, and that was kind of a stupid move. But I think both sides should be worrying less about the money and more about the creative aspect. I enjoyed Tom Holland I liked seeing him with the other Avengers. I was looking forward to more crossovers and more of his Spider-Man popping up in other ensemble films. I did enjoy Homecoming and Far From Home. I think this iteration of Spider-Man has managed to do what Andrew Garfield's didn't. Like, Andrew Garfield's tried to do the teenage Spider-Man kind of thing, and it got too, like, teen angsty drama, whereas Tom Holland's Spider-Man is very obviously a teenager, but there's more substance to it. It's not just like, the Vampire Diaries or on that level. So yeah, I'm sad. I'm glad Tom Holland is still going to be playing Spider-Man, so at least we have that. It's not the end of the world, but
yeah, just give me some Tom Holland, Tom Hardy matchups now, going up against some of his bigger villains, and I will be very content with that. I think it's also nice that, we've got only a set amount of Marvel Cinematic Universe films that can come out per year. Sony can also have maybe 3 films coming out a year, as it's more content for us.
The thing that I'm curious about is how they're going to deal with the ending of Far From Home.
Yeah.
Because they now cannot mention anything related to the Avengers or the MCU, and it left on like quite a big cliffhanger.
Yeah, just keep him in New York. Don't have the building, and have Jameson and Green Goblin, and that'll be great.
So this week we watched Carnival Row and Batman Hush. I have to say, for me, overall, it was a fairly tepid week. Interestingly, Carnival Row only has 53% on Rotten Tomatoes, but they have 8.1 out of 10 on IMDb. And I read one review which said that Carnival Row has too much going on to be cohesive, and I would agree with that. I think that's the central problem to it, and the thing that I kept thinking, because you have like 4 different main storylines happening at the same time, and I kept wanting them to be connected, and a couple of them connected each other. But there was, the story about the Puck and the socialite. They weren't connected to anybody else in the story, and it was an interesting story, but it didn't seem to fit. I think they should have picked 1 or 2 plot lines to focus on and really delved into those instead of having all of these different things going on.
Do you know what's weird? Like, I think Cara Delevingne was like the weakest part of the weakest DCU film for me. Maybe even my least favourite superhero film of all time. Orlando Bloom, like, I haven't really liked him in anything since Legolas. I thought he was quite good in Tour de Pharmacy. The trailers for this were terrible. I heard some early reviews and they were absolutely destroying it. And I've got to be honest, like, I really liked it. Like,
I found it enjoyable.
Yeah, I watched it and I was engrossed from like the first minute. Like it shocked me. It absolutely shocked me. Like, I was totally captivated. Like you, some of the lesser storylines up till episode 4, I was thinking, just cut these out. I want more of Cara Delevingne. I want more of Orlando Bloom. But the final 4, they all kind of synced up slightly more with the main storyline, a little bit of crossover. And yeah, I just found it kind of effortlessly charming. I thought the world building was really good.
The world building was excellent. They managed to tell us so much about this world without having a load of exposition, and I mean that's a really difficult line to walk.
Yeah, it felt like a season 5 of a TV show because they didn't give us any explanation, because we're not idiots. We can work this stuff out for ourselves. And I just thought the whole world was captivating, and I would love to watch more stories in this world. I thought Cara Delevingne was amazing.
I really liked her character.
It was just absolutely amazing, and she was absolute trash in Suicide Squad. It's not her fault because everybody was trash in Suicide Squad. All the sub characters I thought were great. I liked all the storylines as much as there is this debate about some of them getting too much screen time. I've created a little mood board for people who maybe haven't seen the trailers, aren't aware of this TV show. Ripper Street, Harry Potter, Neil Gaiman, Assassin's Creed, and James Gordon in Gotham. That's kind of like a little mood board of what this show is and what's happening within this show. And I'm shocked. Like, I'm sitting here shocked because those trailers were so bad.
I was too. We talked about how it had been kind of panned quite a bit, and I mean, I know when we were going into it, I saw the trailer and I was like, oh, this is like right up my street, and I mentioned it to you and you're like, yeah, it doesn't really grab me, but sure, why not, we'll watch it. And I mean, the concept isn't overly original. They didn't really do anything kind of super new and innovative, but at the same time, it is a really solid show, and I mean, really the only complaint I have is that I felt there were a little too much going on in terms of the plot lines. They needed to pare them down a little bit.
I've got complaints as well. Don't worry, I'll tell you some of my complaints. I don't believe in this day and age any episode of any TV show warrants being over 50 minutes. I think all of them except one were between 50 minutes and an hour and 5 minutes. Every episode I thought was over long. I think that's the problem with squeezing things into 8. Yeah, we've watched Preacher recently and I've said, God, there just isn't enough here to constitute 10. I feel maybe you could squeeze this out to 10. Maybe that would have made it a more pleasant viewing experience, because when you did get, like, you know, the Imogen story in the early days and the Puck, and you got the guy with their kobolds. Yeah. I thought that was quite a charming story, but they kind of ran on a little bit long, and so you thought, yeah, these episodes creeping towards the hour mark. There's just no excuse in this day and age for that episode length. I don't feel.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think they should have had a longer season than 8 episodes.
And we never say that.
We never say that. I remember getting to a point and I think it was either episode 6 or episode 7 and thinking, we're almost at the end of the season. How are they going to wrap all this stuff up? I mean, they managed to do it, but I think it could have been done a bit more gracefully if they'd had more space and kind of slightly shorter episodes.
Yeah. What do you think about the casting? Because, again, I thought every single person in it was perfectly chosen. A couple of Game of Thrones alumni in there as well. I mean, they knew the kind of people they wanted in.
I was, like, hugely impressed with the cast. Not a lot of big names like Orlando Bloom, but a lot of recognizable faces. I loved Jared Harris.
Oh, so good.
Like, perfect casting.
He's having a great year now. He's such a great guy.
Andrew Gower was also in it. I was watching it, like, as I was going through the season, people would pop up and be like, oh my god, it's so-and-so, it's this person, it's that person. And it was just really kind of cool to see that many, like, really solid, talented people in this world. And I think it really helped bring the world to life.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of, like, there weren't really any weak performances. I was just quite happy to go along with the story and not really question a whole lot, which is saying something, because I'm usually the one sitting there picking holes and being like, that's not believable, that's a plot hole, that's an inconsistency, particularly when it comes to world building, because that's what I do. I'm very critical, but
I think they made a really good choice. You pick your movie star, banner, headline, but then you get all your, like, genre TV stars in there as well, who people will recognise and will have seen in other things. And so casting, I thought head to toe, really spot on. I really like the look of the wings.
Yeah, I was, like, fascinated with the wings through the whole thing. I was just, like, watching them, because they're kind of like dragonfly wings.
Yes.
And they just sort of hang down, and then, like, every once in a while, they don't do an awful lot of flying, which I was a little bit disappointed. Yeah. I mean, kind of one of my initial problems is, like, the opening scene where they're running. My thought was, why don't they just go up? They'll get out of range faster if they just go up. I mean, maybe there's a limit to, like, how long they can fly, 'cause the wings don't look, like, super sturdy, but I don't know. So
my top 3 scenes in TV so far: the double bill in Orville, when all the ships were in front of Earth, protecting Earth, and then that ensuing battle I thought was amazing. The one after that would be The Boys, the airplane scene. Number 3 is when Philo and the other guy are walking into this holy place, and you hear this noise, and you look up, and there's, like, this army of Fae all hovering above this thing, That scene I just thought was absolutely superb. Really liked it. I mean, they had a whole episode that was like a flashback when he was a soldier, going and meeting the character of Vignette, who was Cara Delevingne's character. That worked really well. Like I've been so critical of some really bad flashbacks recently. I think Preacher as well. They're so bad in Preacher, but I thought that was a whole episode that was done really well. I have like so few complaints with this show. A small core cast, I think it was good. Not too many people. Really atmospheric, and yeah, I'm in shock. To be completely honest,
I expected you to come in here and me be like, it's an enjoyable watch. I had a good time. Like, it was a nice ride. I'm looking forward to more. And you being like, no, it was shit. It was shit. It was shit. Like, because it is sort of more my thing than your thing.
I would say so, yeah. And I went into like the lowest expectations, and that is what makes this such a triumph, because it completely turned me around. The biggest tragedy is I've actually not managed my time particularly well this week. I watched, I think, 5 of the episodes on my iPad. The final 3 I was able to watch at night time on a big TV to read, because it's so... The design, the aesthetic is so beautiful. You know, some of Amazon Prime money sprinkled in. Great music. Oh my God. The opening credits. Best of the year.
I watched them every single time.
So did I. Best of the year for me, so by a mile. I can't think of anything. It's like Da Vinci's drawings. It's like Victoriana sprinkled in. But some of the kind of physiology, instead of being like humans, is obviously of Fae characters. We're only doing 2 things this week, but it's my thing of the week for sure. Looking forward to season 2. I checked Rotten Tomatoes as well, 50-odd%. I was surprised.
I was shocked. I was shocked
by critics, but the audience one was 80 something.
I didn't see the audience one. I just saw the critics one, but it is 8.1 on IMDb. Yeah. So I mean that's a huge gulf in opinions.
The 8.1's far more in line with my thinking, and it was the critics for whatever reason. Yeah.
I was really shocked to see they only gave it 53%. Particularly because I also looked at what Batman Hush got, and I was a bit shocked about that too.
That's it. Let's move on to Batman Hush. I haven't read many graphic novels of Batman, but this is one I have read and I particularly enjoyed. The entire third act is different from the graphic novel. Why change it, you know?
Because I have not read the graphic novel, and to be honest, I found it quite boring. Just going back on Rotten Tomatoes, it's got 87%, which I thought was incredibly generous. 7 out of 10 on IMDb. So, because I was like literally sitting here thinking, how long is this thing going to last? So I went and read some other reviews, and I found some other people who kind of agreed with me. Some people don't like it like you because it deviated from the graphic novel, but I don't have that problem. You know, it was kind of nice seeing some of the rogues gallery of villains, but I think there were too many of them crammed in there, and it felt like several small stories linked together rather than an overarching plot. I mean, like, you did have the thing about Hush hunting Batman and whatever, but it was only very loosely thrown in there. We had like kind of the diversion of Bruce and Selina's relationship. I did like, you know, Batman and Catwoman out fighting crime together, but it felt like several different films cut together and spliced into one, and the end result was it wasn't that interesting.
I think the graphic novel is obviously way better than the film. There was absolutely no Batman-Catwoman romance, and yeah, I think one of my favourite parts of the film was when they're having dinner and they see the bat signal.
Yeah.
And they go out like kicking ass and stuff, but none of that's in the graphic novel. None of like Alfred walking in and finding them like having sex in like that room that they were, it was like a sauna or like a steam room or something. That obviously isn't in the graphic novel. It's a fairly low bar at this point, but I think it was better than a lot of the animated stuff we've watched. But it's that gap between like what constitutes an animated film, what constitutes like an actual film. Yeah, there are levels to storytelling, and this was fairly low. My favourite Batman stories are where he's the detective and he's going from A to B to C, picking up clues, and if one clue leads into like a villain and the next clue leads into another villain, I'm kind of okay with that.
It's not necessarily the rogues gallery that I have an issue with, it's how they cut it in. It didn't feel smooth. Like, the transitions were rocky between each of the different segments, and each of the different villains felt like a different episode of a show. Like, it was kind of more like binge watching a series of Batman than watching a film, and that's what I didn't like about it. I'm quite like, you know, I enjoyed seeing all the different villains. You know, it's one of my favorite things about the Batman world in Gotham is the villains. The execution didn't work for me.
Yeah, I mean, my advice to anybody who wants to watch Batman Hush would be read Batman Hush. Far better ending and a more kind of balanced storytelling, and I think Jim Lee is the illustrator, and people refer to it as some of the best illustration in graphic novels. So do that instead, I think, would be the advice I would give people. I quite like the royal blue cowl. No, don't often like it, but when he switched to the royal blue one, quite like
it
that.
kind of worked. Yeah, I would say that these kind of faithful or mostly faithful adaptations of graphic novels, I tend to enjoy the graphic novel more than the animated film. Like, I felt that with The Killing Joke as well. I enjoyed reading it more than I enjoyed watching it. There were some notable differences in the animated film there too. So yeah, I'm interested to read Batman Hush and see if I enjoy the story more in that format.
What did you make of the ending? I mean, are we spoiling this? I feel like it's been out for a while.
It's been out for a while. Lots of other people have reviewed it by this point.
Yeah, so full spoilers going on for the ending for Batman Hush. Obviously, it's a completely different ending to the graphic novel, but what did you make of the kind of... The reason that Selina and Bruce kind of went their separate ways at the end of this, because of Batman's morality in that moment where the Riddler was kind of hanging over the cliff edge. What did you make of that?
I kind of feel like that's the only way it could have gone, because Bruce and Selina are never going to have a happy ending. They're always going to have this orbiting of each other where they come together, but ultimately they're too different, and that's part of what brings them together. They have qualities that the other admires, and they bring out, in a way, the best of each other, but it's like they're kind of always doomed to never really live happily ever after.
I've always liked the idea of them being parallel lines, and occasionally the lines kind of cross, but then they veer away again. It would be quite cool for Catwoman to be like a part of the Bat fam, and you see the Bat signal go up and they kind of run out. But I think it's probably better this way, like a mutual respect between both secret identities and the other identity. But yeah, I think it's better this way. That's his thing. People can't die, even the worst. He could be rehabilitated. I've saved the Joker's life like 50 times and hope that the 51st time will be the time that he becomes rehabilitated and he's a member of society again. And yeah, I mean, in this continuity, like, the Riddler's dead now, which is strange when you think about it.
But not a huge loss.
Not really. I think they've referred to him as C-lister several occasions. Yeah. I think he is. I genuinely think we need a Heath Ledger Riddler moment in film, I think. Like a really amazing detective versus detective, or detective versus smart guy film.
I would like to see Ed Nygma from Gotham do the Riddler, because he's the only version of the Riddler that I've really ever been invested in and kind of taken seriously as a character. So I like that representation of it. I would like to see him maybe kind of brought into other things. But the Riddler has never kind of been one of my top priorities in terms of Batman villains. Yeah. So. And I was a little bit disappointed when it turned out that Hush was the Riddler.
I mean, I won't ask you to guess what happens in the graphic novel, because you may want to read it. It's just a better ending. Yeah, just go and read the graphic novel. I mean, so this is a miss for us. I mean, where would you say it kind of stacks up against other ones that we watched though? Because we have watched a lot of Dross, and this isn't. I wouldn't say this is Dross. This is just.
This is okay. Yeah. It's kind of mediocre. If you're really kind of itching for a Batman film and you've watched a lot of other things already and you're kind of thinking, oh damn, like what can I watch? I want a Batman film. Yeah, watch this. It's got Catwoman, it's got all of the various Bat villains in it. The animation is fairly enjoyable, but if you're looking for something to knock your socks off, then this is probably a miss for you.
Hear that, folks? If you're looking for something to knock your socks off, this is probably a miss for you. That's the soundbite for this episode.
That's kind of us for this week. We've got a little bit of a short episode coming back into it. Just want to congratulate Shelley Numi, who has won the game The City of Kings in our patron raffle. So congratulations, Shelley. We'll be getting that out to you in the next day or so. You can become one of our patrons as well at patreon.com/geeknerd. We've got loads of bonus content, t-shirts, lots of cool stuff for you. Plus a sneak peek of our audio drama, which I'm super excited about.
It went up yesterday.
Yeah, it did. I'm telling everybody, we have an audio drama now. We recorded it.
Yeah, it went pretty. I'm pretty happy with it actually. Yeah, it went really well, and it's got a lovely bit of intro music. Some sound effects. We're still kind of experimenting with that kind of stuff, but please give us your feedback. We'd love to know what you think.
Other than that, we're also on Facebook, facebook.com/thegeekly, Twitter @geeknerdpod, and our website geeknerdpod.com.
And everything is on YouTube.
That's
as
right.
Well.
We're
so if you're more a YouTube person, like iTunes, Spotify, find it all on YouTube.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for listening. See you next week.